News Radio 1290 WNBF, and this is Binghamton Now on a Monday morning. We welcome back to our program Michael Vasquez, a Binghamton man who is planning to challenge Congressman Richard Hanna next year. Welcome back to our show.
Thank you, Bob. It's good to be back again.
So everybody is all abuzz with word that President Barack Obama is planning to have a bus tour that is going to make a stop in Buffalo, then at a high school in Syracuse, and then they claim in the Binghamton area. Then after that, that's not enough, they'll wrap it up with a special bonus stop in Scranton, and the people in Scranton will be twice as lucky because not only will they have President Obama, but they'll also wind up with Vice President Biden. So that's like an extra bonus that the people in New York won't have. Apparently, Vice President Biden will join the president in Scranton on Friday, but I don't believe Joe Biden will be here in Binghamton.
Well, it's an interesting thing when you think about it. That first I'd say it's a wonderful thing. Whenever any president comes to anywhere, it's an honor for that area, and I'm happy to have a president come to Binghamton, as is rumored.
Yeah, well, it's exciting. The only thing that worries me, because it's the president, is so much can happen over the next 5 days. I mean, a million potential things could develop that could change his schedule, where he might not be able to be in upstate New York visiting people in Buffalo, Syracuse, and Binghamton. He might have to stay at the White House, and that'd be circumstances beyond his control and our control. And imagine how, no matter how people feel about President Obama, imagine how let down they might feel that he won't, if he couldn't make it to our Binghamton area. I know I would be disappointed. I've covered two presidents visiting in Broome County. First, Ronald Reagan, back in 1984, with a crowd of more than 20,000 people at Union Endicott High School, and that was exciting. And in 2000, October of 2000, Bill Clinton showed up in Johnson City, and that was exciting. So, it's really infrequent that the President of the United States can actually make it to somebody's home area. So hopefully this will play out according to schedule.
Well, if it does, I'd be very excited if he actually makes it here, especially if he actually were to address certain issues, like fracking, something that he's mentioned very clearly in his elections in 2010 and, in his 2008 election and in 2012, that he's for natural gas, an issue that in New York State is on the top of the list of things that have to be discussed. And I would love to hear him say which end of the fracking he is on, because he's for it when he's going to be elected. But we haven't heard him say anything, and here's the perfect opportunity for the president to come up and say, this is what I believe, because I think New York State wants to know.
And it's interesting, the New York Post has a column today dealing with just this, and they say, as the president swings through upstate New York to push his so-called grand bargain for the middle class, the question is, will he embarrass Governor Cuomo? And they say we don't mean deliberately, but indeed, in the speeches that he's had before about natural gas production, he's clearly indicated he thinks that the nation's natural gas resources should be developed. And so the question that the New York Post is asking is, Governor Cuomo, who may be with the president, say, in Syracuse, I really doubt he's going to be with the president in Binghamton, but you never know. Would Barack Obama have the, courage of his previously stated convictions to stick to what he has said publicly before about natural gas when he comes through upstate New York?
I would love to see that. I would love to hear the president. And this is an issue that is a national issue, so it's prominently, directly in the hands of the president, and it's right for him to speak about it. It deals with our future energy.
But as you know, the people who are very, very strongly opposed to fracking, they've already marshaled their forces. They want hundreds of people, if not more, to be here in the Binghamton area to greet the president with signs and indications that they are opposed to fracking. So maybe maybe under those circumstances, the people who advise the president, the White House advisors, might say, well, you might want to avoid the fracking subject altogether if you're going to be in Binghamton. Focus just on making higher education more affordable to the middle class. That would be less politically risky.
As the president, everything he does is political risk. And it would be fantastic to see those who are against fracking, to come out and voice their opinion, because it's important for Americans to speak about what they believe in. And I think it's important for those who believe in fracking to speak up. I think it's important for those who say, hey, we need some action on unemployment, which has been promised in every single State of the Union address and has yet to happen. We need to see that our president is involved in the individuals throughout the nation and willing to take on the tough subjects. But that's not what we're seeing mostly. And I would feel embarrassed for the president, if I may say, from my point of view, if he were not to address an issue so prominent when he is in the center. Binghamton on top of the major shale deposits. This is the heart of the issue for the nation and its energy for the next 100 years. How can he not speak about it? What do we expect him to speak about? He's going to talk about energy. Well, he won't even talk about energy. He's going to talk about education, the student loans. But, Mr. President, I have to ask, you said in 2012 that one of the keys to economic recovery, lowering the corporate tax rate. Where's been that action? Not the deal to spend more if the Republicans get a bit of a cut. There's more action that can be done. There are more issues that can be taken on, and this is the format. This is the opportunity. Let's hear that.
Why do you think that at this moment in time, the Congress in Washington and the relationship with especially the Republicans in the House of Representatives, why it just seems to be at a standoff? A few days ago, John Boehner came through town in some sort of stealth visit. I mean, many of us just had hoped against hope that he might actually speak to people in the Binghamton area. Granted, we're not his constituents. He has no direct well, yes, he's Speaker of the House. He has a direct obligation to us, and that's why he was staying at the hotel 2 blocks away, and we were imploring him, Mr. Boehner, take your bus before you head to Western New York for a couple more private fundraising events. Take a few minutes, either stop by our studio or call in and talk about issues, whether it's fracking, whether it's about the ailing healthcare system in the country, concerns people have about the changes that will be happening with healthcare coverage in the years ahead, or why this nation can't get a budget in place. But we saw John Boehner apparently was afraid to talk with anybody of substance outside his little bubble when he traveled to Binghamton. Where's the courage? Where is the political courage these days, whether it's Republican or Democrat?
Well, I'll address my thoughts on that. I mean, it's the same failure of political courage. And I hate to say something against my party, but I have to be honest. Mr. Boehner didn't speak to the people here, and he should have. And Representative Hanna should have implored him to do so. In fact, they should have been together, speaking in Binghamton, even for 5 minutes, even just to have one speech.
Well,
just to
have
say,
an impromptu little chat at the roundabout where people could have gathered round, and even if it wasn't a chance to ask questions, just give us your view, Mr. Speaker, your view of where the nation stands in August of 2013. That would have been nice. That
would have been nice, but that's the example of the failure that we're seeing of the connection between Congress and the people, which is one of the reasons why I'm looking at running, is there is no connection. Because if there was, the Speaker would have made some kind of comment to the public. And Representative Hanna would have been right there with him, if nothing else to show his support in speaking to the people and maybe addressing some of the concerns they have. It's another missed opportunity, just as President Obama most likely will not address fracking. It's the same thing with Boehner. But I believe that there are opportunities from this, because it gives us the example of what we are not receiving. And it gives us a very clear indication of what we should be looking for in 2012. If we cannot get the representation from Congress that we expect, the mere decency of being able to have someone speak to us when they're here, well, that gives us very good and clear indication of maybe how we should vote. And I would say the same thing on the presidential level. The president can address issues that he's already brought up and said are important, then perhaps, Mr. President, there is a clear indication of what your true interests are. The votes or the actual concerns of the people.